Who is the one hero in the MCU that has ever truly frightened Tony above all the rest? Tony Stark is one of the most capable heroes in the MCU, not simply for his technology, but his unparalleled intellect. We've seen him use only his brilliance to get himself out of life-threatening situations that nobody else would have been able to, solving them with his mind every single time. But what made Tony Stark truly dangerous was the fact that he never gave up, and beyond this, prepared for threats long before they ever happened. This is what made Thanos fear Tony Stark above all the other heroes, so much so that he was one of the only heroes that he was willing to kill. Stark has created suits of armor that can go toe-to-toe with the Hulk, has faced down earth-shattering villains, and was responsible for bringing back half of the universe after Thanos' snap. But which hero in the MCU put Tony on edge, and why was this hero so terrifying specifically to Tony Stark? Well, today, my friends, let's discuss the hero in question. Surprisingly enough, the hero who scared Tony the most wasn't the Hulk or Thor, nor was it Captain America or any other Avenger. Instead, the hero who made Tony the most fearful was Doctor Strange. And this is apparent all across Infinity War. Tony has always been able to be the smartest individual in the room, and is able to evaluate and break down situations on a level that is completely unmatched. He can deduce weaknesses of just about anyone, and can learn just about anything he wants when given enough time and resources. But Doctor Strange was a complete enigma to Tony Stark. When he first meets Strange at the beginning of Infinity War, he is first introduced to the concept of magic and the world of sorcery. This completely turns Tony's understanding of the laws of physics and the universe on their head. This is something that Tony Stark does not understand, which is virtually unheard of for arguably the smartest character in all of the MCU. Even if Tony is in situations that threaten to severely harm or kill him, he still understands the principles of the environment that he's in, and his ability to learn quickly makes him extremely dangerous wherever he is. Even in Tony's Mark III, it wasn't strong enough to contend with Obadiah Stane's Ironmonger. Still though, Tony at least understood how the suit operated, and could formulate a plan to overload the arc reactor and beat Stane. This same principle of understanding and breaking down an enemy can be seen in all of Tony Stark's fights. He understands and can find weaknesses in Ultron, Killian, and even Thanos to a degree after studying him. All it took was learning about the Infinity Stones and watching Thanos in combat for a few minutes. Here, Tony was able to figure out how to fight back against him effectively. He stops Thanos from closing his fist and targets the gauntlet because he knows the basic premise of how to weaken the Mad Titan. But the same cannot be said for Doctor Strange. Tony never knows what trick Strange has up next, and he is completely out of his depth when it comes to the world of sorcery. Even though Tony could very likely learn about the ways of sorcery, it would take him years to get on the same level of Strange and have this understanding, and this comes down to one very simple reason. We know that Doctor Strange himself is brilliant. Though not as intelligent as Tony Stark, it even took Strange months to learn even the basics of sorcery in the first solo film. We know that his battle with Dormammu took far longer than we initially were led to believe, and some theories go as far to propose that he fought Dormammu for literal decades. This means that Doctor Strange is much older than he appears, and has far more experience than just about any other hero. He has spent these years honing his craft, practicing the spells he had been taught, and perfecting his skills as a seasoned sorcerer, one capable of outclassing even some of the most famous veterans of Kamar-Taj. We can see this on full display as Tony and Strange clash, each attempting to outwit and overpower the other intellectually. Finally, Tony has someone who can not only match wits with him, but has the brain power to pose a significant threat to Tony's tactical edge. Tony knows his friends and allies extraordinarily well, and although he's not as gifted of a tactician as Steve Rogers, he still knows his way around a battle plan. If he were with the Avengers, he would know how to formulate a strategy to account for everyone's strengths and weaknesses. And he can even do this with the Guardians of the Galaxy after only spending a few minutes with them to gauge their skill sets. Doctor Strange, however, was still a mystery to Tony Stark. One of the driving components of fear is an absence of information, as we as humans are hardwired to fear what we do not understand. Our imaginations are so much stronger than anything that can often be put on screen, and Tony's inability to have an answer terrifies him. If you're interested in fear and horror, however, be sure to check out our brand new channel, The Horrendous Wave, after this video, where we do all the same analysis, breakdowns, and lore dives, but for the staples of horror. Back to Tony Stark though, Tony has always been able to find the answer or know what's going on, so an instance where Tony simply doesn't know something puts him completely out of his element. Not only does he not know about sorcery, but he can't learn about it. Sure, he can study Strange, but in Infinity War, the two have much bigger stakes to address with Thanos' impending arrival. Even if he wanted to, and time was on his side, he would have to unlearn everything that he thought he knew about the world and how it operated, and would have to face the possibility that maybe Tony had been wrong. This new environment keeps Tony on the intellectual defensive for the first time in his life, and he absolutely cannot stand this feeling with Strange. Never before has Tony Stark not been the smartest person in any room, and even after Thanos had been killed, it doesn't seem like Tony has delved into sorcery. He spent the 5 years after the snap rebuilding his own life and settling down with Pepper. All he wanted was to be done with the fight, and even if he had wanted to study, Strange had been dusted, and Kamar-Taj would have been in ruins. But what's really interesting about this is that it tests another facet of Tony's character that he seldom has to rely on, and that is faith. Tony Stark is not much of a believer in faith, as he believes problems can be solved, and that his destiny and his life is in his hands. He wants to steer the trajectory of his existence and remain in constant control. This results in his attempt to stay away from blind faith whenever possible. To Tony, faith is synonymous with sacrificing control, which he absolutely refuses to do. Doctor Strange, however, forces Tony to do this. We not only see this during the battle on Titan, but during the battle on Earth in Endgame as well. During the Battle of Titan, he puts his faith in Strange's abilities and tactics, and Strange proves himself to be quite formidable when Thanos comes face to face with the Sorcerer Supreme. He is also forced to take faith in Strange's decision to sacrifice the Time Stone for Tony, even though again, Tony has absolutely no idea why he decided to do this. He's kept in the dark and forced to rely on Strange from beyond the grave. And we still see this come full circle in Endgame, when Tony Stark finally showcases a surrendering of control to Doctor Strange and his plan. He asks if this is the reality where they beat Thanos, and he takes Strange's answer without challenging him. Tony Stark has never been in the dark like this before, and in his final moments, he has learned that he doesn't know everything. This is one of Tony's most terrifying challenges, and one that he overcame. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this idea? Do you think Strange was the hero that Tony feared above all others? Or was there someone else who scared Tony? Thank you so much for visiting the channel today. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope you're having a great one.